Alright, good evening everyone, and welcome back to the Danger Zone Reviews. Season 2, Episode 1, as a matter of fact. So, I am back, and I made the remark on the last season I was going to try to add my physical appearance in for the videos. That's unfortunately not going to be the case. I couldn't work it out to where I could. But we're still going to go along with the previous format from last season and continue to put out different episodes as usual. So it's going to be pretty much the same format, adding pictures, videos, stuff like that in, and kind of filling out the video, add some music in underneath and stuff like that. So I'm back, and I've revealed what the episode was going to be a little while back, and I said I was going to do 1974's Deep Purple's Burn. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick to my word, and we're back with 1974's Deep Purple Burn. So this is the first with the Mach 3 era lineup. So that consists of David Coverdale, Ritchie Blackmore, Glenn Hughes, Jon Lord, and Ian Paice. And this lineup kind of genesised from basically the kind of devolving of Mach 2, or Mark 2, whatever you want to call it. So Mark 2 consisted of Ian Gillan, Roger Glover, Blackmore, Paice, and Lord. But eventually, just things got so bad between Ritchie Blackmore and Ian Paice, they just couldn't get along due to personal issues with one another. And even when they reunited, they still could barely get along with one another. So eventually, by late 73, Gillan and Glover were out. And pretty much they started looking for other singers. The original idea was to bring in Paul Rodgers, of course, of Free, but at the time he was forming Bad Company, and he was actually going to be in the band. And from what I understand, that was the only reason Glenn Hughes was going to be in the band to start with, was because he was going to get to sing with Paul Rodgers, do some co-lead with Paul Rodgers. But eventually Paul Rodgers went ahead with Bad Company and declined the invitation to be in Deep Purple. And pretty much the big idea with that was to have a more bluesier-based vocalist. That was pretty much the big reason why Blackmore and Gillan just couldn't jive, because Blackmore wanted someone more blues-based. And Gillan, I think, tried to do that, but he was from a totally different background. He was much more kind of this, he was from a more kind of Elvis type background. I keep saying Elvish, but Elvis type background. So really his vocals weren't really much of a bluesy vocal style or anything like that. Of course, with the whole big shrieks and everything he could do, just wasn't. I'm not saying he couldn't be bluesy, but he just wasn't that blues vocalist I think that Blackmore was looking for. And by Elvis, I mean he does kind of have that Elvis kind of style where he can get up there and kind of croon in a way, and just his vocal style is very much at least in my opinion, very much like Elvis Presley's. So eventually Glenn Hughes, formerly of Trapeze, he joins as bassist and vocalist, and they then get relatively unknown singer David Coverdale to join in. And basically the big thing that sold them on him was that he had a very bluesy, deep, kind of gruff voice. So he comes into the band, and they start working on what will eventually become this album, Burn. So let's go ahead and get into the first track on this album, and that's the title track. So a classic rock staple. I mean, probably the most well-known song on here, the smoke on the water of this album, if you will. And I love it. I think it's a great opening track, great track, just all the way through. I mean, it's just a fantastic opener, fantastic song. Classic Deep Purple, of course. Machine Head and the Mach 2 lineup, or Mark II lineup, is my favorite era of the band. And, of course, Machine Head is my favorite album. But this album as a whole, to me, is Machine Head Part 2. I think it very much follows up that. And I love it. I think Burn is very, very good. Burn is an awesome, awesome track. It was performed in Rainbow. It was performed with Glenn Hughes. When Glenn Hughes went solo, he did it. Coverdale's done it with Whitesnake. And, I mean, it's been performed all throughout. And after this, though, the song was kind of dropped because Ian Gillan just wouldn't sing it. It'd be very interesting to hear his take on the song, possibly. But he just kind of vetoed all of those songs. But Blackmore would bring in snippets of the riff and stuff like that during, I think, around the House of Blue Light tour. And pretty much, I mean, it's a classic rock standard, in my opinion. And I love it. I think it's a great track. And even to the extent that Paul Stanley used this song as the basis for I Stole Your Love from Love Gun. So, I mean, if you listen to both back to back, you can very much tell. So, we then move to track number 2 on the album, Might Just Take Your Life. This one sounds a lot like Free, which kind of gives much more of a emphasis to the whole Paul Rodgers connection. This one sounds a lot like Free, in my opinion. It's a much more bluesier number. I mean, it's got the keyboard, the whole keyboard intro and everything, which is amazing. John Lord's amazing, one of the best keyboardists of all time. And I love it. I think it's just an amazing song. Performed it here and there throughout this era, but I don't think they kind of picked it up and done. I don't think Blackmore picked it up for Rainbow or anything like that. Coverdale did pick it up early on for Whitesnake and started doing, I think he did a cover of this on the Purple album that was released, I believe, 2016. And he picked it up. It's on the Live in the Heart of the City album, the double live album. Or I'm confused on that one. I think it's technically a single album, but they added in Live at Hammersmith from '78 in there for the vinyl pressings, but cassette and CD was the single disc. The Hammersmith 1980 show. But the Hammersmith '78 show had this track in there. Much more of an emphasis on the slide guitar with that version, but it's still a great, great song. And you had Bernie Marsden doing the Glenn Hughes parts. And I mean, it's just still a great song. And I love that how Glenn Hughes and Coverdale kind of went off of one another vocally. And the duets and stuff like that throughout this. Very interesting format, by the way, for this era of the group. So then we move to the next song, Lay Down, Stay Down. Another Free type song. I love it. I think it's a great song. The chorus it says the whole thing pretty much, and it explains the whole song right there, if that makes any sense at all. So, Lay Down, Stay Down, I love it. I think it's kind of an album track, but I still really enjoy it. So then we move to Sail Away. To me, Mistreated Part 1. Very slower tempoed, maybe kind of a mid-tempo, funky type song. The closest they get to the Stormbringer album on this particular album. And I love it. I think Sail Away is just a great, great song. And I love it. I think it's very cool. And this was written by Blackmore and Coverdale themselves. So then we move to the next track, track number 1 on side 2, You Fool No One. So When they do this song live, they would extend it out. You can hear it on the Made in Europe album. They extend it out, throw in an extended drum solo, guitar solo. They do some little jamming, blues jamming, and stuff like that. Love it. I think that version makes this song even better then. And I love it. I think it's a great, great song overall. And I love it. I think U-Fool No One is fantastic. Coverdale, of course, later redid it with Whitesnake on the Purple album and brought kind of a much more bluesier atmosphere to the song. Like he added harmonica in to the song, which was interesting. And I love it. I think it's a great, great song. So then we go to the next song, What's Going On Here? Another kind of album track, but I still love it. Very, very good song. Just overall, spoiler alert, this whole album, I love it. I think it's a great, great album. So What's Going On Here? Good song. Then we move to the next track, Mistreated. The other song that's probably the most well-known on the album, just straight up slow blues. I mean, love it. Blackmore did it with Rainbow. Coverdale did it with Whitesnake. He performed it for years with Whitesnake and then dropped it. I think he said in the '83 Donington show that was going to be the last time they played the song. But I think he did it a lot more afterwards. And I love it. I think it's great. Dio actually pulled this song out, would perform it on some of the later, I think around the time of the Angry Machines era and stuff like that, he would do the track live. It's on that Dio Inferno, The Last in Live album from '98, I believe it was. And that was recorded on the Angry Machines tour. Great. I mean, it's on stage with Dio singing. Dio does a fantastic job. That's probably one of the best songs on that particular album. But I digress from that. Deep Purple's version, amazing. There's a great version on the Made in Europe album, the live album. And, I mean, they extend it out even more on there. I mean, it's one of those that you can play for a freaking hour pretty much. And it's just, you could drag it out as long as you want to. Pretty much another great track on the album. That's all I can say. It's Deep Purple blues. Not much else I can say about it. So then we move to the next track and the final track on the album, A200. So it's kind of a progressive type song, very much led much more by Jon Lord. And I think it has a lot of synthesizers throughout and stuff like that. So it's much more Jon Lord heavy. And this was written by Blackmore, Lord, and Pace. And the previous track, actually, I didn't even mention it, was only written by Blackmore and Coverdale. And that was, I think, the only song... No, I think Mistreated and Sail Away was the only two songs that Coverdale sung by himself. Or by himself. But A200, cool song. Cool instrumental. You got... I mean, just a cool song. A very progressive type song. You've got the keyboards all throughout showing Jon Lord. Just how good that Jon Lord was. And rest in peace. I mean, major, major loss to the music world. I mean, fantastic. So that does bring an ending to the album. But there is a B-side called, I'm probably going to butcher this, but it's called Coronarius Redig. I don't know what it means. I think I've read what it means before, or if it even means anything. And I'll be honest, I've never heard it. So I just wanted to mention because it's kind of officially part of the album. And I believe it's another instrumental, and I believe it was a B-side for a track on here. So I'm not real sure. Yeah, it was a B-side for Might Just Take Your Life. So it was actually remixed in 2004. So I just looked. It doesn't show a meaning, so I was probably wrong there. I think I'm thinking about the one on Difficult to Cure that has the meaning, the instrumental on there. But that's my review of 1974's Deep Purple's Burn classic hard rock album, their 8th record. And I just love it. It was produced by, of course, the late Martin Birch, who unfortunately passed away here more recently. And I love it. I think it's a great record. It's just a fantastic record. And I was wrong, it was not produced by Martin Birch, it was engineered by Martin Birch. I always get those confused. But it was produced by Deep Purple and engineered by Martin Birch. But I mean, Martin Birch puts his stamp on. I mean, amazing producer, rest in peace. Another major loss to the music world. So that's the first episode of Season 2 of the Danger Zone Reviews. And hope you all enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe. And tell me what you think of this. And just hit the little bell icon in the corner to get all, or beside the subscribe button, and get all notifications when a video comes out. And just thank each and every one of you for watching, listening, whatever the case may be. Hope you all enjoyed, and see you next time.